The movie reviewed in this episode is rated R. Listener discretion is advised.
You just see Yana like pulling. She's like, what the
She's
fuck
like,
is
I love.
Just like teeth.
I love that scene. She's like, what
hair?
is this? There's
Like-
hair, and she's like so grossed out. And it's like,
paper, and then Darcy's like, put those back, and Yana's like, okay, yes, ma'am.
yeah. She's like, oh,
She puts
and
them
she, like,
back.
goes to bed.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Scary Movie Nights podcast, a bi-weekly podcast for friends and lovers of scary movies. Today, we will be discussing Oddity, released in 2024. That's Mariana,
And that's Joanne.
and we are your hosts for the night. But first, Mariana, what stopped you from using your golem for sweet, sweet revenge?
What stopped me? Oh, I didn't think about this before we started.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah,
We had Scary Movie Night last night.
we did have scary movie night last night. Yeah,
Yay!
I'll do that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What stopped you from using a golem for sweet, sweet revenge?
I also did not think. I'm just kidding. Well, we had some Raising Cane's earlier today. That was
yeah.
pretty sweet.
Oh,
I loved
cane
it.
sauce. It's cane sauce.
It's the cane sauce
It's
period.
just cane
Actually,
sauce.
yeah, because my students made a really good point the other day. Like, you know, if you just eat the chicken fingers, they're not actually that
The chicken fingers
great.
and the fries are just a vehicle for the
cane sauce.
to enter my body.
Correct. And then like I like the coleslaw. I don't. Does that make me a serial killer? I
Really?
like coleslaw actually.
I sub it for a Texas toast every time.
Oh
Like
really?
a normal person.
That's what Brian does. No. Listen, I'll eat the coleslaw, but I do love the Texas toast.
That's valid.
Do you get it, Bob?
What?
Butter on both sides.
What?
You didn't know about this?
No.
Holy, let me change your life right now. Let me actually change your life. So if you go up to them and be like, hey, whatever, take your order. And can I have it Bob style? You're like, Bob style? Sure. And they put the butter on both freaking
Shut
sides.
up! I didn't know you could do
No,
that.
dude, literally just add some more fucking calories to that. You're already eating a
Yeah,
million anyway. So like
already.
you might as well eat. No, it's really good, Mariana. It's really
no,
good.
wow.
So that's what made my week.
Yeah, cane sauce.
Bob. Cane
This
sauce and
episode is
Bob.
Brought to you by cane sauce. Cane sponsor us.
Canes, please.
Cane sauce,
I know it's only like episode 2, but please.
please.
But enough about that. Let's open the door for Oddity.
It's the door opening.
Okay, I love it. It's so good. So this is our like pre-spoiler section,
Pre-spoilers.
right? So we've got some synopses and some movie facts. So Mariana, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I'll take it away. As always, I consulted ChatGPT for the synopsis.
Chatty.
Every time I typed in like Oddity 2024 film synopsis, I think it thought that I wanted it to make me a movie synopsis because it was not the synopsis for this film. So I actually
just like a
wrote
random
this.
movie?
Yeah, like
Oh,
it was
like,
just-
hey, I'm making a movie
yes,
called Oddity.
That's
Oh.
I think what it was understanding, and I kept like I retyped it like 4
Did
times.
you
and then I
write
was like,
any of those down? Do you have them with you?
No, I don't.
Okay,
but
it's
they were
okay,
like
maybe.
completely different
That's
movies.
crazy. Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe there's other movies called Oddity. I didn't really look that far into it. So I wrote my own synopsis this time. So this is a Mara original.
love
and
it.
it's pretty short.
I love it.
Because I feel like it's kind of easy to give things away with this movie.
True.
Because the movie feels very like almost like condensed. I don't know, like it all happens in like pretty much one place, and
Oh,
there's few
true.
characters, and so here we go. This is our no spoiler synopsis. After her twin sister Danny is violently murdered while remodeling her and her husband's home, Darcy, a blind medium, visits the house where her sister's husband, Ted, now lives with his new girlfriend, Yana. Thoughts on Yana later. Darcy brings with her a mysterious and very creepy man-sized wooden doll.
And then shenanigans ensue.
Yeah, shenanigans ensue. Some movie facts. For the movie facts segment of my research, it just says Irish horror.
Whoa.
That's all I wrote down. So it is an Irish film.
Fun fact.
It was really cool. It was written and directed by Damien McCarthy. And he has another film called Caveat that was very, very good. From what I hear, because I haven't seen it.
Me neither.
But we should. I actually watched the trailer today.
Oh.
It looks very spooky.
Okay, love that.
And so that was like a very, like, so these are both kind of like indie films. And they were both shot in the same set. So I'll talk more about that later. But Caveat was kind of like a project that he put together, and like he put a lot of work into it and didn't have a like huge budget, but it was a success. So Oddity, when it came to making that one, it was a little bit easier because he had success with Caveat.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Kind of going back on the Irish horror, that's kind of an interesting genre, like subgenre, I guess, of horror. Like what, like I wonder like what are some examples of that? You know what I mean? Like, is it like Irish, like with Leprechaun? The Irish horror?
No. So I think there is maybe some like mythology.
Yeah, involved, right?
Out there, but
like, is The Watchers Irish horror? The Watchers
in Ireland?
No, but it's like, well, I don't want to spoil the movie if they haven't watched it, but anyway, like I guess it has to do with like folklore and legends and mythology of Ireland.
Horror just means it was made by like an Irish
person. Yeah, that's very possible. That's a
I watched some interviews actually for my research, and so some of the other things I wrote, it was an interview with him and like the two main actors, which the movie's cast. So it's, oh my god, I don't know how to say this name and I forgot to look it up.
Oh no.
Willem Lee as Ted Timmis, so he plays the husband and he's a doctor. Caroline Bracken, and she plays Danny Odello Timmins and Darcy Odello. So they're twins.
Because they're twins. Yeah,
which I didn't realize that they were twins, and I was
really
researching the movie because their appearances in the movie are so different.
Yeah.
So when I was researching the movie, it like came up, and I was like, oh, like okay, so like that's Darcy, but like which one plays Danny? And I like couldn't find the actress, and then I was like, wait, okay, they're twins. Oh, there's another name I'm gonna get wrong. I'm so sorry to the Irish community. Todd Murphy as Olin Boole, and I have some interesting stuff about Olin later.
Okay.
Caroline Menton as Yana, my fave. Steve Wall as Ivan, and Jonathan French as Declan Barrett. But I watched an interview with Willem and Carolyn, and they both talk about working with Damien McCarthy, and they all had good things to say, which I think is like a pretty stark difference
from our last review. Oh my god.
I'm sure there's like a lot more like, I don't know what, like...
What?
I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, you know how, like, now, like, child actors can only work for so long and, like, that kind of thing. So there's kind of, like...
Oh, like more regulations.
Regulations, yes. On like how actors and
on like, hey, you
can't
actually traumatize your cast.
Blanks at people
you can't
on set.
You literally cannot give them lifelong trauma. Yeah, both so physical
not
and
only was
mental.
he like respectful and didn't shoot blanks at them or anything, but also he was very open to like collaboration, and they had like a lot of conversations about like their characters outside of the film and like stuff that doesn't even really make it into the film, but you can kind of like get from their performances. So that was really cool. Also, in the interview that I watched, they asked him what was the last movie that like really scared him and like kind of stayed with him, and he said The Witch.
That's like my favorite
movie.
I know.
So I wrote that down because I thought you'd want to know that.
Oh my god, I actually do love that. I just love The Witch. I can't wait till we do it. Like till we review The Witch, because that legitimately, it didn't even stay with me. You know what was funny? And I said this in episode 0 or whatever, but like, I wasn't sure like if I liked the movie at first when I first watched it, and then I rewatched it the second time over. That was like, then it became my favorite film. So I totally understand Damien, homeboy. That's right. Yeah. The Witch is so good, or The Vivitch.
The Vivitch.
The Vivitch.
I always call it The Vivitch, but I'm trying to stay away from that because everyone else just says The Witch.
Well, it is The Witch, but it's like it's double V. Yeah,
like, come on.
The Vivitch.
As far as the cast, so the actor that plays Ted, he kind of was asked about like, I guess like the heart of the character, and he kind of brings up that this character Ted has this violent, I quote, violent distrust of spirituality and religion. Which I think like you can clearly tell in the movie. Like he doesn't believe in stuff.
Oh, sure.
And,
yeah.
you know, Darcy.
Which ultimately is his demise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Darcy, obviously, like she is a medium, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like they're like.
So she lives.
opposites.
Yeah, she lives in that world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so does he, really, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I guess we
believe
all
it.
live in the world in that world, but like his perspective is so different from hers that it's almost like they're living in different worlds. Yeah.
They also discussed a lot of like, so what I mentioned earlier is they kind of fleshed out a lot of, I guess, things about the relationships between the characters, especially the sisters, because I thought it was really interesting. Like, you never see them together. Like, they don't actually have any scenes together. So, because I always think of, whenever I was watching these interviews, it made me think of like The Parent Trap.
Oh.
And how like when I first watched The Parent Trap, I thought there was two Lindsay Lohans.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It didn't it didn't occur to me that they could like have two people in the same place. So for this film, they didn't have to edit them together because they're obviously played by the same person. Because the sisters are never in the same room. So they had conversations about like the sisters' relationship and what makes them different, but also what makes them similar. Because, I mean, they have such a stark difference in their appearance to the point where I didn't even realize it was the same actress.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It took me a little bit during the movie, but I think they
register.
did mention that they
I'm
were.
sure they did.
Yeah, they were twins.
I just totally didn't get it. So
Yeah.
it was interesting that the actors were having like those conversations. What else? Oh, so she mentions that for Darcy, there is like definitely like an ethical ambiguity. And then like a lot of independence, which is really cool because, you know, the character is blind. But she seemingly like lives alone, like works alone and all of those things, which I thought was really cool in comparison to Danny, who is definitely more like surrounds herself with like people. She definitely like in the film reaches out to her sister a lot and her husband, and calls her a lover. And I agree, especially with what happens later in the film. Like, I think the first 20 minutes of the movie are so like enthralling, like when she's in the house. I think
by herself.
Because I don't think this is a spoiler. It's like in the trailer, but
yeah,
her and her husband bought this house and they're remodeling it, and she's like staying at this house, and it's seemingly in the middle of nowhere, so like rural Ireland, and she's by herself.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like a castle.
Yeah,
right. It's like a mini
and
castle.
It was converted from a barn that was also used in his first movie, Caveat.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
But in the movie and in the trailer, she like goes out to her car to get something, and then she comes back in, and then someone like knocks on the door, and it's this guy who's missing an eye. He's wearing a prosthetic. His name is Olin, we find out later, and he's like, "Listen, you got to get out. Like, there's someone in there with you. Like, when you came out to the car, I was watching, and someone went in with you." And so she's trying to decide, like, does she trust this guy or not? Is there someone really in there with her? And then the movie kind of switches. It like fast forward a year, and you don't really know exactly what happens, but what she does end up doing really reads as she's like a lover. I think. Wait,
what do you mean, who's a lover?
Danny. Because she
Oh.
really like starts to believe this guy that's at her door, and that's like, it's like, hey, just hang out with me, like I'll take care of you. And he's a little like, maybe because he's missing an eye, so he's not normal looking necessarily, and like,
oh, he's definitely creepy looking.
but he's creepy looking, but she's like inclined to trust him, and so I think that's like that aspect of her character. I mean, I think
Wait, was that in an interview?
That's what no, I'm just making all this up. This is all my opinion. No.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
No. This is just my thoughts.
No, I definitely got the sense that she did not trust him.
Really?
Because like she opened and she was like stepping back, like, what do you want?
At first, but they have like a pretty long conversation, and I think towards the end she's like, do I?
No, but she never opens
she
it for
doesn't
him.
open the door,
no, she doesn't open it for him because she gets freaked out, and so he's like, okay, how about this? Like, I'll go to town, get the police. You just stay away from blah blah blah. And then so she was like, fine, but she did not open that door for him.
You're right.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Remember that?
I don't know. I totally got the vibe that she was maybe like thinking.
She was definitely thinking about it at one point. She was
door.
like, she got the key and everything, and she was like about to open it, and she was like, no, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Which, to be quite honest with you, had I been in that same position, I would not have opened that door. I'd have been like, you're literally crazy. I'm not going to be opening this door.
I would have pretended like I'm not home. Like I wouldn't have opened the little hatch to begin with. That's what I do at my house.
Honestly, same. Like when I can't use my Ring doorbell to see who it is, I will talk to somebody through the Ring doorbell before I open the door for somebody.
Even do that. I just like watch
That's
them
crazy.
and I'm like, I don't know you, and I just pretend I'm not.
No, for real.
Even though you could clearly tell she was there, like the lights were on. She was like in a tent in the house. Like it's very eerie, very creepy.
No way. Fun story. So Brian was out of town one weekend. We lived like down south, farther south at this point, and I was at the house by myself, and I was watching the ID channel. So that's on me. That's on me, the ID channel, yes. And so then I heard a knock. It was like 9 p.m.
Oh my God.
Girl, like what?
It's too late to knock on people's
It's
doors.
too late to knock. Call me because that's the only way I will answer the door.
Yeah.
And I literally froze for like a good minute. I was like, again? Are they going to knock again? And I got up and I actually got a knife.
Nice.
And I went and I looked out the peephole of the door and there was like no one there. And I was like, hell no, hell no. I was like, maybe I should watch like Powerpuff Girls or like some other or like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I would not
because
sleep that night. That is
girl,
terrifying.
I literally could not.
Did you ever find out what it was?
No, I didn't because we didn't have a camera out there.
This was like pre-ring.
Honestly, yeah, this was pre, yeah.
Pre-everybody
Well, was it?
having
I don't
Ring.
remember. Yeah, pre everyone having rings, yeah, for sure. So being in an abandoned castle in Ireland with no security system, I would not even have. You're right. I don't know if I would have opened that little slidey door thingy.
Absolutely not. Maybe
That's
it's 'cause
crazy.
We're like city folk, but
Yeah.
no,
Also paranoid.
Definitely not. But the beginning of the movie is just so intriguing, and it like pulls you in, and then
Oh
the
yeah.
movie like I don't know, because I like to go into movies blind, and so when I went into it, I was like, oh, this is like a survival thing. Like she's gonna have to like fight her way out of this. But then, you know, pretty early on in the movie, you find out like what happened.
Yeah.
And the movie kind of changes into something else, which is really, really great.
Yeah, and we can talk about it
Yeah,
in our next section. Yeah.
for sure. Actually, something interesting. I'm just reading through my notes. I wrote so much. I watched this like long interview with them. And one of the things that the director mentions is like he's like a really big like lover of horror. He has like if you find his YouTube videos, like his YouTube channel, he has like all these like short films. They're like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. So he loves making horror movies, and he's like very well versed in like the genre and like all the different like tropes. And he mentions that like the more horror you watch, like the better you get at like anticipating what's gonna happen. And he said that he likes to weaponize that. And he's like,
I definitely felt
viewers
attacked.
think that this is gonna happen, but then something else happened, and that's something I loved about this movie was like the freaking jump scares. Like I was like, ooh, off the seat. Like I was.
There weren't that many, but the few that were there were very
so good.
Effective.
Yes,
I did like the jump scares.
I like whenever they're used like sparingly. It's not like a jump scare at every corner. It was really, really good, and a lot of them like I did not see coming. I think all of them. I was like, what? And like a little scream, a little yelp, for sure. For sure. This movie premiered at South by Southwest in March of 2024, so this year, and it won Audience Award for the Midnighter section of the festival. And so I think during that section they do like kind of spookier films, like stuff you'd watch late at night.
That's so late.
And it also won. I don't know that they do it at midnight, so there's that. It also won the Audience Award for feature film at the Overlook Film Festival.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the doll yet, or do you want to wait until after spoilers?
Ooh, let's wait until after spoilers.
Okay. Yeah.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah. I think everything else is pretty spoiler related.
Spoilery?
So I think we should.
Okay. Like jump right into our spoiler section.
I think I'm ready.
I love that. Thank you for the facts. Those were really interesting. So, listener, now we're jumping into the spoiler section of our podcast. So, if you haven't watched the movie, I would highly recommend you go do that now, because like, this is such an incredible film, and the less you know about it, to be honest, the better.
Yeah.
But if you've already watched it, or if you don't care about spoilers, then keep listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll put it out there because this helps some people decide, but it does have 96% on Rotten Tomatoes
Right.
as of today.
I mean, it's so good.
It was so good.
It was really good.
I really, really loved it.
One of our friends was watching it with us during Scary Movie Night, and he was like, "Oh, I think this is my favorite scary movie.
Yeah.
This is my favorite scary movie." And then and then his fiance goes, "That was the worst movie I've ever seen."
It was so funny. It was really funny.
It was so great seeing them both, who, by the way, are getting married. We're going to their wedding in like a week. So
By
congratulations.
The time this is out, they'll be married.
They will be married. Congrats, Ian and Alette. Yes. But it was really funny to see that stark comparison between the two. I thought it was an excellent film myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put it like my favorite, but it's definitely up there in the top.
Yeah.
Like it was a really great film.
I agree. Definitely like my favorite that I've seen recently.
Yeah, it was definitely top 3 probably in 2024 for me. Yeah.
Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil is really good. Anyway, so okay, so what about the doll? Tell me.
Okay,
you're gonna say something.
And they refer to let's talk about what happens a little bit. So, as I mentioned earlier, this guy's knocking at her door, and his name is Olin, and I feel like there's so much to fill in here. I'm just gonna assume you guys watched this movie. Her husband's a doctor, and he works at like a psychiatric facility, and this guy has like recently been released, and his name is Olin, and he's got an eye prosthetic on. And actually, I'll talk about him really quickly because so Damien McCarthy has a short film called How Olin Lost His Eye, and it's short. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's like 6 minutes, so it's very, very short.
I'm gonna watch it right after this.
There's no dialogue or anything, so it's very, very spooky. It's like these black and white shots of this like abandoned house, and there's this young boy who you assume is Olin. And he's kind of trying to look into this house, and at one point he's looking in and like a shadow moves. So like something or someone is in this abandoned house, and it's like all these shots of the abandoned house. At one point he's looking through so there's like a boarded up window, and then there's like a circular hole, and he like looks in, and like you can see his eye, and then he kind of walks away, and then you see these dirty fingers kind of poke out of the hole. And so he sees, and when that happens, like you have this like very loud, like dramatic music, which I feel like was similarly used in Oddity whenever you had those jump scares. Because like for some of the jump scares, it was like the doll had moved, which is not something you don't actually see the doll moving. You just like the shot changes, and you see that the doll has moved, it's like loud noise, and it's scary, it's startling. And so he uses that in this short film. And so then the kid like looks in, and it's this like man covered with like a blanket, and he's got his hand like out like this, and I think Olin assumes he like wants money, so he starts putting coins into like the hole, and he puts like several coins, and then he like puts the last coin in, and he goes through look, and it's this like the old man has taken off his blanket, and his eyes are like bulging out, and his teeth are like sharp, like pointed, and then he just like grabs his eye and takes it out through the hole. And that's the short film.
But he gave you money.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rude.
So that's like the backstory on Olin, and it's
okay.
Assumingly, the same character. I mean, he's missing an eye in the movie, and same name and everything. But
and what a creepy prosthetic.
Yeah.
Like you could have chosen a
okay, but we're assuming this man probably doesn't have a lot of money to like.
That's true. To get like a good one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but he's
Let me check my privilege.
He's been released from this, facility where Ted is his name. Yep, Ted Timmons. The doctor works at, and so he's like, I know you're the doctor's wife, like please, like you have to come out, like someone walked in there like while you were at your car, and she does not open the door. And then it flashes forward a year, and we find out that she's been murdered. Danny's been murdered.
Yep.
By Olin.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some like really
although you don't know that yet.
No.
You don't know that until like the end ish.
Well, no, you don't know how she really was murdered.
Right.
But you.
Which can I talk about that actually?
Yeah.
Because I love the because the supernatural world exists because you're like quote unquote seeing it through Darcy's eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like you're aware of that. There's like probably something supernatural going on.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really interesting to me is that no, there wasn't up until the moment she used her golem.
So I loved. Let me talk about that right now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
What
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What I love about it is that there's all these like supernatural things, and she's a medium and she sees all these things.
Yeah.
But all of those things turn out to not be the villain.
Yeah.
It turns out to be like the human man.
Right.
So, a spoiler alert, like the doctor actually hired a man that he works with to
kill her. Yeah.
And Olin was framed. So he didn't do it. And, the golem in the movie, the scary, creepy wooden doll, it's not the evil thing. And so that's where you see some like ambiguity of like, is Darcy a good person? Because this woman is like, she goes after
she's
this
vengeful.
doctor. So
she's
a really
vengeful.
big plot point is, so Darcy, like, she can touch objects and like feel like their backstory. So she is given Olin's eye prosthetic, and through it she's able to see what happens.
Yep.
So she knows that Olin didn't kill her sister, so that's when she.
But that's after she murders him.
I forgot that.
Yeah, she sends the golem after him, kills him.
Oh my god!
And she even makes and I love that you brought up that moral ambiguity there, because she even realizes that herself.
Yeah.
She kind of has given up all morality.
Yeah.
To avenge her sister, kills Olin even though he's innocent, sees this through his eye. And she says, I'm going to burn in hell for that one, or something like that, or I'm going to pay for that one.
She completely acknowledges that.
She completely acknowledges that. And so then, like, you could make the argument, like, is she actually a good person deep down? Because then she acknowledges she did something wrong. Whereas, like, a truly bad person, like Tim, the husband.
No, Ted
Timmons. Ted Timmons. There you go. Ted Tim.
Ted Tim.
Ted does never acknowledges he did anything wrong, and he's more of like she deserved to die, like, and
Oh my god.
So then you have this thing of like this good person is perhaps doing a bad deed, and she acknowledges that.
Yeah.
But man, look, this is such a creepy film. I actually absolutely love this film. You are absolutely on her side because you're like, it's almost like a detective show, right?
It is.
Up until that point, you're just like, what? Like, please figure out like what happened to who killed your sister?
And so the doctor like goes to Darcy, and she owns this like Oddity shop that they like, it was their mother's Oddity shop, and there's all these like really cool like and creepy like artifacts. And I actually researched, and like the director like McCarthy, he bought all of those. Like, he goes to like all these like vintage shops and like buys these things. And so it's super, super cool. And you get to see Darcy and kind of like her vibe, and she's a medium, and she brings up this bell.
Oh yes.
Supposedly there's like a haunted like
it's a
bellboy bell, and there's like a bellboy that if you ring it, was it 3 times or something like that?
Or if you
like he kills you, and like the last 3 owners have died and stuff, and the doctor, like Dr. Timmons.
That's her Ted Timmons.
Dr. Ted Timmons. Ted Tim kind of like scoffs at her and doesn't really believe her, and I think that's like a really cool like setup for their characters, because they're very much like opposites.
Yeah, he just looks at her like, okay,
but
like,
at the
you
same
weirdo.
time, like they both commit these terrible acts, because obviously like Ted Timmons killed his wife, and she killed Olin. But the difference there is like she is very regretful about what happened, and she kind of like accepts her fate, and I mean she does die at the end, and but it was really, really, really good,
really great. No, I honestly love these characters. They're like, even the bad ones.
I fucking love I love the girlfriend.
That girlfriend Yana.
Oh, I love her. She's so annoying.
Okay, so
I love
her. Yana, the story with Yana is basically like Timmons.
Yeah, the good doctor was cheating on his wife the whole time.
Cheating on his wife the whole time.
She was like his secretary or something.
Something like that.
Like, very cliche.
Yeah, very dumb. And so then he has his wife killed because she doesn't want to be with her anymore. She wants to be with this like secretary or whatever, but he can't leave her apparently.
And they're living in the house.
and
that the wife was helping remodel.
yeah, and where she was murdered.
Literally.
And maybe that's why Yana was like a little obsessed with the wife, because she kept watching. Because so one thing that not Darcy but her sister, what's her name again? Danny kept doing was she kept like recording moments or like taking pictures of moments in the castle because she felt uneasy there.
No, it was her sister told her to.
Yeah.
Like, Darcy had told her to.
Yeah.
Because at one point, like, it's a voicemail and it's like, okay, like, I have like a camera set up like you told me to, and it's taking pictures, because I think the sister, because she is very like spiritual and a medium, like wanted to see if she like caught any like orbs or anything weird.
Okay, yeah.
And that's why she had the camera, and the camera comes into play later on with like, I think the best jump scare in the whole movie is when she's looking at the
for sure
at the footage of Danny.
My god, yeah.
God, that got me so good.
It's so
and it
good.
gets you like back to back.
But it's really interesting because like you brought the point up earlier that the supernatural part of it wasn't the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that you can see that even with Danny, because Danny's ghost is trying to protect Yana.
Because Darcy's like out for everybody. Like
Darcy's out for she was about to kill her she was gonna kill Yana.
She was like,
you could tell she was like all passed out on the table, like I'm gonna get that bitch.
I also so let me talk about the doll for a little bit. So it was made by artist Paul McDonald with input from McCarthy, and he cited Child's Play and Creepshow as influences.
Oh my
for the
god,
doll.
I love both of those things.
And so like we've been calling it a golem, and I did look up like what that is. So it is a creature formed out of a lifeless substance such as dust or earth that is brought to life by ritual incantations and sequences of Hebrew letters. So it is like Jewish mythology, actually.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
The golem. But everywhere I read, they just call it the doll. Also, the director, McCarthy, he actually has this doll at his parents' house.
Oh my gosh, no.
It's in his childhood bedroom, which I think is really funny.
Oh my, he's just chilling there.
So, and they also... in the interview that I watched, they were like, what do you call this doll? Like, did you guys have like a name for it? And I think they just called it like the wooden man or something. Like, something, I would have given it a silly name, but they're better than I am. I guess.
Loved the reveal of the doll because, she has this like box shipped from her Oddities like shop or whatever. And it gets there. They, Yana and Ted open the box, see the doll in there, and like as the audience, you do not see this doll.
No.
Like you don't actually know what's in the box.
No.
And they open it and they're just staring at it like,
they're like,
what the fuck is that?
That's creepy looking.
It's like who like
doll.
like why who sends a gift like that? And then you eventually see and you're like, oh, that one was in the box. Like I would have also freaked out.
I think I would have freaked out a little bit.
I think I would have had the same reaction as Yana, who was like, burn it.
I feel like Yana is completely reasonable the whole time.
Honestly, yeah.
She does come off very bitchy, like for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like it was like reasonably so.
Yeah, I'm like, ma'am, I have plans with my friends.
Yeah.
Like I need to go.
For sure.
You good?
Like, that was rude.
Or...
Like, it's like, hey, you're be fine. Like, there's food in the kitchen. Like, you got it.
Yeah,
like. You're fine. Oh,
I mean, God. I think she could have been nicer about it.
Maybe.
Definitely, but imagine like your dead wife's essentially sister comes in and she's like, "Can I hang out with you guys here?" And I'm like,
your boyfriend's dead wife's sister.
Correct.
Who is blind and a medium.
Right.
I've got you
and
this
it's like,
creepy doll.
I'm like late for happy hour.
Yeah, it's like I actually have to go.
Actually, I've got brunch, shopping, and drinks, so I can't.
It was so good.
So like she's kind of like Darcy. She's kind of weird and creepy, So like I understand Yana. I think she's a great character because she's just a girl.
Yeah.
And she just wants to have fun, and she's just like,
Like, I feel like everything that she was feeling, or like that you could tell she was feeling, is like what I would have been feeling. Yeah. But she just didn't like cover it up with like politeness.
Right.
And I like can respect that. I wrote like refreshingly bitchy.
Refreshingly bitchy. Yes. Oh man, no, that doll was really what made the film, to be honest.
It did, and I feel like that for the majority of the movie, the doll is stationary. There are times where you kind of like it goes, from one shot to the next and the doll has moved, but you don't see the doll move towards the end of the film.
Right.
Which I think has like a really cool effect. And when you do see it moving, it's like, I mean, it's massive. It's like a large man, like it's huge.
And obviously very strong, because didn't the doll like crush Olin's skull or something like that? And then
it did.
Which I loved that scene, because you didn't actually see it happening. You just heard the noises and saw the shadows.
Yeah.
And it was through the perspective of like his neighbor.
Cool. Yeah.
It was really cool. I kept expecting to see the monster doing it, but
also like the scene starts with the neighbor like drawing all these like very creepy drawings, and then you don't really get much more out of like his neighbor, and I think I would assume he was like in the psychiatric facility as well. You get the shot of like all those like crazy like sketches and like charcoal drawings, and then like he doesn't come back. But this, I get the sense from this director that he like pulls a lot of things from like his previous films, like so like even some of the props that are in like the little Oddity shop, like he's used in some of his short films. And I kind of really love that. Like,
that's really cool. Like a little Easter egg.
Yes, like Easter eggs. Like, it's like a little like Damien McCarthy like cinematic universe, And I love when directors do that, and
that's pretty
cool. I just thought it was just so well done and really funny, and the way the movie ends, I think, because do you want to talk about the good, the bad, and the spooky?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So for my bad, like the only bad thing, and this is just my personal opinion, and I will forgive this film for it, but so at the beginning of the film, the first interaction that we see between Ted and Darcy is her talking to him about this bell that's supposedly haunted by this bellboy from this hotel. And he's like, okay, whatever. And she's like, okay. And at the end of the film, Darcy like dies. And he's kind of like sitting at his table, like all smug, like he like still came out on top, like whatever. Yana does break up with him. Good for her.
Yeah, good for her. Yes.
Queen. And then he rings the bell, and he gets a package in the mail, and it's the bell. And I love that the character like Darcy, like clearly she's very smart, and she had like the wherewithal to have this like backup plan, like in case something goes wrong.
Imagine wanting to kill somebody so much that you like have a backup plan for my murder.
And so he pulls it out, and he's kind of like, he has it on the table, and he's just like staring at it, and like you just know he's gonna ring that fucking bell.
Oh yeah. Because he's so freaking smug. He's riding high on that second murder essentially, and he's just like, well, this is who's dead. My annoying wife, her annoying sister, who loved me so much,
the house that I live in with my girlfriend,
and she's literally haunting it, so I'll probably die anyway. Her annoying sister, who's like really freaking weird. And Ivan, the guy who into murdering my wife. Yeah. So it's like he's scotch-free at this point, because there's no one who's gonna tell on him.
Literally, everyone's dead.
Everyone's freaking dead.
Ivan, like I think he's like, oh, like he like went off the rails. Like he worked at this like facility for so long, so he thinks he's scotch-free. And then at the very end, like he rings the bell.
Oh, but let's not forget. Sorry, I said Ivan is dead. Technically untrue. He's like tied up at the mental hospital, but then that crazy guy, he like releases that crazy guy.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Freaking like eats him.
You're so right.
Dude, remember that? He took a bite off his toe, and that's the last you see of Ivan.
And,
that was an insane scene.
So he gets put in by the doctor into like the psychiatric facility, and like that is one of my biggest fears, is like being in a hospital setting where you can't you can't express what's really happening, and you're being essentially held hostage. Like that's one of the scariest like tropes for me.
A little sidetrack, that is actually happening. There are mental institutions who will prolong your stay to make money off of you and your insurance.
Imagine you're fine.
That is happening right now.
And they're like, no, you're being gaslit. Like that is just my biggest fear. So
it is horrible.
So spooky. That's what the doctor does to Ivan. And then there's this guy in the facility who like he wears like a muzzle.
Yeah, like so like you see shots of this person throughout the movie, and you're like, what's up with this guy?
Like, kind of chomping.
Yeah, like what is up with that? And it's just the weirdest thing. And then at the end, you're like, oh yeah, that's what this is for.
That was so good.
It was actually kind of satisfying because you honestly F that guy. Like he is actually the worst.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, Ivan, no thank you.
No, I think the doctor is worse.
No.
Like I'm the doctor, and then
okay. Did I say the worst? No, you're right. You're correct. But I mean, yes, the doctor, because he is like actually a
He's
psychopath and manipulating
everybody, yeah.
everyone. But Ivan also, he is also a psychopath
He
because he
murdered
treats people so
And I
badly
mean,
at that
he's
place.
The reason Darcy
And-
dies.
Yeah, and let's not forget he treated prosthetic eye guy.
Yeah.
What's his name? Olin. He treated Olin so badly while he
Yeah.
was in that, you know,
Yeah, he was
in the
an
ward. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
total asshole. So,
was
you know,
an
he kind of
asshole
deserved
for
it.
Sure.
I deserved it.
But anyway.
But what a great character.
Yeah. So the bad is at the very end, he rings the bell. Ted rings the bell, and then you see the bellhop like next to him.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends, and I feel like the bellhop just looked a little bit too like
Cartoony.
Like
It was a
gimmicky.
little
And
a
spirit
Spirit Halloween.
yes. It
was
took
a little
me out of it
Spirit.
a little bit, but granted, it was like literally at the very end of the film, so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, because it was like, okay, like if that had happened earlier, I would have been like, oh.
Yeah.
But that is the only thing I didn't love about the movie. But
Honestly,
everything else
I
was
feel like a
good.
better ending maybe would have been him just ringing the bell and maybe like a noise
Yes.
or something,
Yes. Like,
you
I
know,
wish
like
we
off
hadn't
screen.
seen anything, you know. But
Yep.
oh god, the movie really was so good. Other than that, the
So
spooky-
for me, the
Yeah,
bad.
oh my god, yes.
For
Go.
me, the bad. Yes, that a little bit took me out of it at the very, very end.
Yeah.
I think also I hate the way that she died.
Darcy.
Yeah. So the way that she died was, you know, Ted actually comes into the house and she's standing like away from him and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go back to the hospital
Yeah.
and I'm going to call and I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
Just please don't do anything." I think she was like threatening to report him or something.
Wait, hold on. I feel like so at the very beginning of the film, like when the movie starts, it's Danny and she's cleaning the house and there's this square on the floor.
Yes.
This hatch that like comes up.
Mhm.
And that is how the movie opens. It's like her like putting it back down.
Yeah.
And then she moves to this part like right outside of that room in the hallway, and it's the only place in the house that has cell service. So whenever Ted says that, he takes it off the ground.
Yes.
And then he sets the phone in that spot where there's cell
Yes.
service. And
Yes.
so he knows that Darcy's going to have to like move across the room.
Yeah,
to
I
get
think he's
there.
promising on like calling the police and turning himself in or
Yeah.
something like that. And so he's basically like baiting her, like, "Please, I'm gonna go back.
Yeah.
There's no cell service here. I'm gonna go back. Call, like, here's like the phone. Please, like, pick it up
Yeah.
when it rings." And she's blind, so she doesn't see him
Yeah.
doing this, but he is taking that panel off
Yeah.
very carefully and setting it down. So now there's like this hole in the floor because they're on the second floor
Yeah.
between Darcy and the phone. So he gets to his office hospital thing. He calls the phone and oh my God, like you can see Darcy like considering like, should I pick up the phone?
Yeah.
Should I stay here?
you're
Do I
just
trust
like,
him?
"No."
You're like,
Yeah.
don't trust him. He's literally the worst
Yeah.
person ever. And damn, if her better nature doesn't get the better of her, she steps forward, falls through the hole, and
And then Ivan comes
You know,
over
and Ivan comes over.
because she doesn't
He
die from the
does.
fall. I mean, it's not a super long fall, but I love the parallel of like the two sisters like
Yeah.
interacting with like that little hatch. And
Yeah.
I think even in the film,
That's true.
It like shows like a shot from the beginning of the film, and it's like Darcy like looking up, and you see like Danny like
looking
at the
down.
same spot looking down.
Yeah.
which I thought was really really cool.
That's really cool. Well, you know, as she's there dying, she's controlling the golem, chasing
Oh, yeah.
around Ivan through the
Yeah.
house, and
Like trying to stay awake.
trying to stay awake so hard. Eventually, you know, Ivan falls. Down, like, doesn't he jump down? He
Yeah.
like breaks his ankles or something
Oh my
like
God,
that.
yeah.
God, it was the worst. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
what did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah.
But to be fair, if a
If a golem-
horrifying
yeah.
golem was chasing me, I might also make some stupid
For sure,
decisions.
for
To be
sure,
honest
for
with you.
sure.
But anyway, so and then like Ted comes back to the house and like does he then he takes Ivan to the hospital where
Yeah.
he like inters him or whatever. The thing that I don't like about
Darcy's death.
Darcy dying in this way is because I felt like her disability is ultimately what got in her way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
like that actually sucks. Like I didn't like that. And you know, maybe that was the tragedy of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the director, that's maybe what he was going for. It's
Yeah.
like, this is actually a tragic character. She's not the heroine you think.
Yeah.
She is somebody who's out for revenge, and maybe someone who's a little bit bad as well, right?
And I like that she's depicted as like this strong like character, and like
very
like,
independent, actually.
Her disability is like never like made to seem like this like disability,
huge burden,
like, huge burden, like
until that very moment when she steps through and I was like, dang, I kind of wish something else would have, because I understand her death. I'm not mad about her death. I think I'm more disappointed at the way, like what caused her death. But you know, that's I don't think it retracts too much from the film. It's still a very excellent film.
I agree. And I also agree, like I'm okay with her dying. It feels like, I don't know, almost right, because they were twins, and so like, you know, twins have like this connection, and I don't know, like, and she did kill Olin, and so
she did kill Olin.
I was okay with it as well, but I agree. Okay, what about the good? What did you love about the film?
I feel like we've already talked about most of what I have the good. I mean, it's just so creepy, right? Like, I actually love the cinematography in this film. There's a lot of really great shots. You know, right before Olin was killed in his little like halfway house, there's a shot of like his neighbor's apartment, and he's looking at the door. And there's one side of the hallway that has a wall and one side that doesn't, and it's just this long shot. And it's so disorienting, and I was like, who thought of that shot? Actually, it's pretty standard, but like the way that it's all set up, it's very discombobulating, if you will. I love that. The cinematography was actually excellent. The shots of like the inside of the castle house, or whatever you want to call it, really great. And I also love that, like, again, you're on Darcy's side, but you're almost like uncomfortable being on her side, because she's so weird and creepy. You're like, what's going on with this girl? Like,
definitely being weird.
This is really weird, but you're like, okay, girl, but like, get it. You know what I mean?
I think you definitely warm up to her. Like, by the end of the film, I was like, on her side, even though,
for sure,
like, you know, she was doing bad things. And on cinematography, just the cinematography, I have it written, the cinematographer was Colm Hogan.
Okay. Go off, Colm.
Yeah, go off, Mr. Hogan.
Yeah.
I think for me, the good and the spooky really go together here. But my favorite thing about the movie was the creepy, very eerie setting, and kind of like off-putting characters, and the freaking jump scares like were so good in this film. They really got my heart rate up, my blood pressure going. I loved it. So good. So
good. For me, the spooky, the golem.
He's so scary.
The golem was really so freaking scary. Oh my god. Like, I love a good monster movie. And I even wrote down in my notes, like, but was the golem the monster, or was she?
Yeah, because
or was Ted?
So, I mean, I think ultimately it is Ted. And, like, everything that he did kind of, like, it's a domino effect that leads to all of these things. Also, on the golem, really interesting on this doll, like, they never show how it works. So, they show Yana, like, pulling stuff out of its head.
Yes.
But it's never really fleshed out, like, how she does these incantations, and you never really see her do it. And the director mentioned that was on purpose. And it was, like, left up to, like, the audience's imagination on, like, how this thing even works, and, like, where it came from. Yeah. Which I thought was really interesting.
No, I love that. And I caught that too, because, you know, sometimes movies will go, like, way over. So, The Conjuring 3 actually is a very good example of this. When they're trying to like exorcise him, they go through like, okay, part 1 of demonic possession is the infestation. The devil made me do it, right? Yeah. Like, they're going through, and it's almost painstaking. Like, okay, dude, like,
it's like there
you're taking away
too much exposition.
Yeah, like, you're taking away part of the supernatural mysticism part that makes it so scary and so interesting. Like, you're eliminating that mystery.
Yeah.
Whereas this part, like, you just see Yana like pulling. She's like, what the
she's like, I love.
She's like, teeth.
I love that scene. She's like, what
hair?
is this? There's
like,
hair, and she's like so grossed out, and it's like
paper. And then Darcy's like, put those back. And Yana's like, okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she's like, oh,
she puts them back.
Goes to bed.
I love that. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna go under the covers.
Oh, that was so good. That
was a great moment, because I thought, I was like, oh man, she's gonna take, because like, I'm a huge nerd when it comes to like magic and like all that stuff, like magic with a K at the end. And like I know that if you take off the components of a spell, like you basically render the spell useless
Yeah.
or uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So I saw her taking those things out. I was like, oh man, she's gonna really mess that up because we hadn't
Yeah.
seen the golem in action at this
No,
point.
I think it hadn't even moved at that point.
No,
maybe.
not from the. I don't think so
Because at
either.
one point I remember there's this shot like Yana's like, because it's like a mezzanine situation where you can see like
Yeah,
from
you can see
upstairs to
down.
downstairs.
Yeah.
And she like looks down and like that thing is like
Looking
right
up
back
at her. I'm
That
like,
was one of the jump scares. I was like,
that was so good.
So
Oh my god.
good.
So for me, the spooky, definitely the golem. I love that thing.
Yeah.
It's so scary. Even though he doesn't really move
Yeah.
the whole time, he's
Yeah.
just sitting there. So sorry, golem.
Yeah, he does get burned at the end.
He does, which is
sad.
very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Any other thoughts or
No.
fun facts you want to share about the movie?
I think I shared everything I needed to share.
Would you recommend this movie? So okay, so
Oh,
we're
one more
going to be
thing.
okay.
The scene at the end with the bellboy was the first shot, like the first thing they shot on the film, which I thought was
The
really
scene with the
cool.
bellboy was the
Yeah,
first
that was
thing?
the first thing they shot for the whole
Oh
movie.
my god, that's so
like
cool.
that, I feel like that's such a way to like set a scene.
Yeah, for
Unintended.
sure. Okay, so now let's move on to our letterboxd review section.
Yes.
I did look them up earlier. They're in my phone, unfortunately, but let me look at them
I
up.
do need to pull up my phone as well, but I do have the letterbox rating. I think it had a so it got like I said, 96% Rotten Tomatoes, 3.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Okay.
I would give it.
Well, hold on. Well,
Whoa.
let's see. Let's look at the reviews
Yep.
first. Let's see. Which is not wanting to. Thank you, Letterboxd, for delaying
Yeah,
this.
mine's not loading either.
Okay, so a lot of people are saying like it was an excellent film, etc. This person just put like the emoji of a bell, which was great. Let's see. Somebody was wishing they also had a twin with a vengeful golem.
Someone said I'd like to use that wooden man's head as a bowling ball.
Yeah. My new hear me out is the wooden guy. Let's see.
Oh my god, wait, there's a poem. Darcy has objects to sell, some of which come with a spell. A wooden bod can look a bit odd until it's time to ring the bell. Okay.
That's very
Jaybird
cute.
on the
Thank
letterbox.
you. Very cute. So yeah. I mean, okay, so let's rate this together.
Wait, someone
then.
said, man, I know times are rough, but it's hard to see Pinocchio like this.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
oh, people are crazy.
Okay.
People are crazy for that.
Okay, so let's rate this movie in terms of whether you'd fall for the trapdoor or not. How badly would you fall for the trapdoor, Mariana?
Would fall through this trapdoor 4 times in a row. This was a 4.
4 times out of 5.
Yeah,
so
4
like,
times out of 5.
yeah. So
Yeah.
80% of it's an 80% chance that you fall through the
80%
trapdoor.
chance of falling through.
Okay.
I really liked this movie.
Yeah.
I really, really liked this movie. Like that thing at the, I have this thing where something will happen in a movie that kind of like takes me out of it. And I'm like, oh, like I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that bell hop thing did that for me. But other than that, like fantastic film. 4 out of 5. Yeah.
Nice. I would rate it a little higher than that. I think 4.5
Okay.
out of 5
Okay.
times,
Okay.
I would fall for the trapdoor.
Valid.
The zombie thing did not take me out as much as it did you, I
Yeah.
think, but I understand what your point is, and yes, I can definitely see that. I think
Yeah.
that could have been executed a little better, but I'm not gonna knock the film for like 2 seconds at the very end.
No, you're right.
4.5 out of 5 for sure. I think that's really good. Yeah.
I'm trying to be like a little more like, not like stingy with my 5s, but I just feel
I
like
know,
every
like,
time I watch a movie, I'm like, that was
what
good.
what is the perfect
great movie,
score?
so-
Yeah.
It's like that English teacher that's like, or that art teacher's like, nothing's perfect, no 100.
Right, yeah. I know it's kind of lame of us, but it is what it is. As educators,
it was really good.
yeah. Oh man. And so I think that about does it for today, right?
It does.
All right. Thank you for joining us. listeners, if you enjoyed the podcast, please tell your friends about us. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars in whatever app or podcast service you use to bring on the spooks.
Please follow us on socials by going to scarymovienights.com.
And you can also message us through our socials or by sending an email to spooky@scarymovienights.com. Tell us what you thought about this super fun film. Did you watch it? Is it your thing? My name is Joanne.
And my name is Mariana.
And thank you for joining us for another scary movie night. See you in 2 weeks. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky! He's not calling you a liar, but he's calling you an embellisher.
Right, correct.
Which is
Are
funny
you
coming
calling
from
me a
him.
liar? Well, I ain't calling you a truther.